You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it?
Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Always Open, a podcast about mental health, sex, relationships, and everything in between. We're so glad you're here. I'm your host, Barbara Dunkelman, and today I'm joined by two lovely guests, starting with...
Hi, I'm Lindsay. What's up?
Lindsay!
Wow.
And also...
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Yay! Sarah! You're first Always Open!
I know.
Yeah. Wait, like ever? In the history of Always Open?
Ever.
What's up?
No, just here chilling.
That's why you're at the head of the table. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I just, side profiles. I'm not a big fan of them.
No, I
You got
agree.
a great side profile.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you very
rocking
much.
one, especially with the bangs. I feel like you're doing great.
I miss the bangs. I don't every year I like no, I'm gonna grow them out, and then a year passes. Like, oh no, they need to come back.
The struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone with long hair does that. Like it's, I want bangs, or like I'm bored with my hair and I want to change it. And bangs seems like a pretty easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I do it, I go, I like this for a day. And then the next day I go, I hate this.
It's the styling for me of bangs. Like I love bangs, especially the way that Sarah has them, a little bit side swept, like they're just over the brow, even like not too sheepdoggy, but just a little bit of mystique to it, you know. But then the next day I wake up and they're like up here, like doing like a surfing move. I'm like,
there's something about Mary
yes,
hairstyle.
hardcore. Ben Stiller's at my door. I'm like, what are you doing here? Get out of
Dude,
here.
I'm so lucky. My hair is relatively tame, and I don't have to do much styling day to day. As long as
Your
like
hair always looks good.
I was gonna say, do you wake up and just like brush it a little bit? It really
Yes.
does.
Right, I straightened it for this event. But,
Oh, there you go. Getting
but
fancy.
yeah, no, I air dry it on my drive to work.
Oh my God.
That's
so
it. I don't do anything.
Oh, what's that like? I feel like anytime I let my hair air dry, it doesn't know whether it wants to be curly or straight. And so it'll just be like,
Just like foofy.
Foofy.
Right? Yeah, I'm a little foof. So you sound like Michael too. He has naturally curly hair also. So yeah, there's been a couple times where he comes out of the shower. I'm like, okay, good. We're looking good. And it slowly grows as it dries. Just a little bit.
Trevor's been growing his hair out. And it's funny because like we're recording this episode. It's not going to come out for another like month or so. We're so ahead on recording. So by then, I don't know what his hair is going to look like, but he's been growing it out. And he's at the point now where he almost has to put a hat on after he washes his hair so it dries in a certain way. Because I guess like it helps mold your hair in a way rather than like drying it and putting product in it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, also just thinking of like Trevor's natural hairstyle, he could do what I call the Eric, if you watch Boy Meets World, where you just kind of run your hands through your hair like this and it falls naturally into place in this perfect like coif.
Oh my God, now I want a middle part for him.
There
My
you go. There
roommate
you go.
has that haircut. Literally. Yeah. He has a straight part with like curtain bangs.
Oh my God.
It's so funny because he goes, I'm so mad because it's the exact haircut my dad had when he was my age. But he goes, but it looks so good.
What have you become?
I mean, genetics, right?
It's
if
true.
it looks good on your dad, it might look good on you.
know,
It's
yeah.
true. So like, okay, I've heard it called a wolf cut. Is that what it's called? Or
No,
not? Like,
so if it's like that thing, it's just a
A shag?
It's a shag.
okay,
But like
the shag. Cool.
she has a wolf cut and Shelby has a wolf cut.
Oh yeah, Shelby has the wolf cut where it's kind of like very textured and layered.
A lot of
right?
layers,
Like
yeah.
short layer by the chin and then like another long layer after that.
Yeah, I pointed off to screen. It's the associate producer.
Yeah. He's like,
I didn't
she.
say anything. She has like a kind of
A
wolf
good
cut.
shag, yeah.
Yeah, she has a good shag. And then Shelby has like an extreme wolf cut. And then Shelby's girlfriend has an insane wolf cut. Like Marla is, I'm just like, her hair looks great every single day.
I like to believe you're pointing going, she wolf.
She
wolf, yes.
She wolf.
Oh,
Shakira's calling.
Una loba. Now, in high school, I had hair. I mean, I still had like the same texture hair. I haven't really changed it or done anything crazy with it aside from dyeing. But I never knew it was called a wolf cut. My friends had all seen the movie. Was it Remember the Titans?
Oh my God,
was
yes.
it one of the new football movies? It was new at the time, but there was a character named Sunshine, and he had hair exactly
If I
like
could
that.
Google this real quick.
Go ahead, please. It'd be like football player, Sunshine movie. I think it was Remember the
like
Titans.
a football one too.
Yes, yes. But
Need to figure out how to open Google in the first place.
this is
is
before
funny to
yourself
watch.
was openly non-binary. So
just hit
everyone just said
support.
you're Sunshine. You're that dude.
Sunshine. Let's see.
It's one of those.
Sunshine. Oh,
Maybe it was
gosh.
Friday Night Lights. I don't know. So many football
Barbara,
movies.
do you not know how to use
The Replacements.
Hey,
do you
Thank
not
you,
know how to
Stacey.
use an iPad?
I don't. This is new. That's
incredible.
It's also just like I usually just use it for questions, and also some work here and there.
I also have my phone. I've tasked you with looking it up. How rude.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
know.
You are fine.
It's so funny watching this because I have an iPad because I use it for school. Okay. You hit this little. and
Okay.
then-
It's
amazing.
Well, which one do you want? Would you want this one?
Just
too
this
big?
one, yeah.
So you hit that and then you hit the big thing.
Thanks for helping
And
the
then-
geriatric
or you can
gender.
also pull this down all the way.
Oh,
And you can make it side,
and you can do it
or
side by
If
side.
you want it to pop out, you pull it down.
The
my God.
geriatric millennials, thank you.
Really, honestly,
yes.
you keep me so young, Sarah.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you
welcome.
so
Yeah. No, I just have one for school. So that's actually, that's a lie. I bought it for like plane rides because I was like, oh, I don't have a laptop anymore. It's just my work one. Let me get
Yeah.
I'll buy an iPad. And then I started school like 2 months later. And I was like, oh, this is what this has become. This is now my school thing.
This is something that blows me away about Sarah is that she does so much work here at Rooster Teeth and goes to school at the same time. And I just think about how like I could barely manage my time at work, trying to imagine studying and doing tests and homework.
Okay. You want to know the best part about library science?
Go ahead.
No tests.
What?
No tests.
So
Just
how are you graded?
just essays.
No tests.
That's awesome. No tests. Yeah,
It's like the
and it's
no
running your
case.
class. I love it. I love it.
Just discussion questions, presentations, and essays.
I
That's
want
it.
that. That sounds amazing.
It's incredible because it's library science. So your whole thing is that you're supposed to be learning how to look things up.
Yeah.
So they don't need you to like memorize shit. They're like, you just need to know how to find it.
I hate memorizing stuff. I can't do that, but I can tell you about it. That's fine.
Maybe librarian is a career
take
path
it.
for you, Lindsay.
I was going to say, I'm out of school and have been since 2011, but you
Same.
describing your lecture plan made me want to go back to school for a
Oh.
minute. I was
Oh,
like, wait,
it's-
can I, hang on.
Oh, and it's so fun. Like it's like one of my classes is all of them are online because I go to TWU up in Denton and I'm not making that trip. But the professors will send like lecture slides. They have like the PowerPoint, but then they also have like all of their notes written down.
Yeah.
And they send that to you. And then
Wow.
like every once in a while they'll be like, oh, I'm having a meeting if anybody has any questions. And that's it. And
I
I,
love
just
that.
read through that. And every 3 weeks I have homework.
See, we had like a Google Doc that we shared with students, but it was
Yeah.
almost like a like known secret, like, oh, share the Google Doc. Don't tell the professor.
have the Google Doc?
Right. Yeah. Like, oh, and then there was always one gatekeeper who's like, you weren't paying attention in class. Guess you won't need that doc, huh? Like,
I have a
okay.
message for those kids.
Right. Excuse me.
Fuck you. All right, listen, we're all just trying to get by.
It's true. But now
Help a brother out.
I want this format for
It's great.
every class. That's incredible.
I've done now 4 classes and they've all been similar to that, where like each semester I've had one professor who's like, hey, let's have like a meeting like once a week just to me go over it. So you, like if you're an audio learner.
What is the career path you're hoping to get on?
I have no idea. I actually have a meeting with my advisor on Friday because I don't know. Because I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, I would really like the biggest thing is like, I wanted to be a librarian since I like could read a book. Like I remember the first book I
Since
like
you saw
finished.
The Mummy. Yeah.
Which, by the way,
good book.
in case anybody watching doesn't know this, Sarah reads more than anybody you know, I guarantee.
She reads a lot. That's true.
There are people on TikTok who have me beat, but I try to at least get like a book every 2 weeks. And I'm trying to be better about it.
You're comparing yourself to Olympic athletes. You're wonderful. You're
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. But
I'm like, if I read a book in a year, I'm proud of myself.
oh,
Dude,
like,
if I read like a web page, I'm like, ha, fuck yeah.
oh, dude, like if I get it, like I was mentioning this before, I had like really bad anxiety last week. And so all I did was I started my favorite audiobook. And so I listened to Red, White, and Royal Blue for the second time in 6 months
Wow.
because it's just a comfort one to me. And it's really fun to listen to because part of it actually takes place in Austin too.
Oh, does it? So it like mentions familiar places and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, the whole thing, Red, White, and Royal Blue is President's son falls in love with Prince of England. That's the plot.
I love it already.
Oh, it's
Wow.
Go
it's
ahead.
really well written. It's really fun. But the president's son, she was a representative of Texas, and so he grew up in Austin. And now that they're like in DC and everything, he always talks about how he wants to go back to Austin. And like the last chapter is them here in Austin while they do her second election, and it's her hometown type of situation. And like the big thing is that they're trying to like turn Texas blue. And so
Yeah.
it's like a fun one to read.
Yeah.
Very
I feel like
prevalent.
I would live vicariously through that book.
It's I
Right,
do
yeah, no
I
kidding.
do judge it because like I was just listening to it while like I just finished it, and in the last book like the rally ends and they get on bikes and they like bike to his house, but like while they're biking they're south of the river.
Yeah.
They bike up and he's like, yeah, we passed the bars, we passed the Capitol, and I go, that's a long bike ride.
a
And
very
then
long
they
bike
go
ride.
like
What,
further.
18th Street?
Yep.
Whoa.
And I was like, can you stop? Like
Yeah.
it's like River Heights or something like that. Somewhere like, and I was just like, I never thought about this before, but you bike so far. What are you
It's a whole
doing?
day bike ride.
Yeah.
Like going
They
past the
j-
river through downtown.
They I don't know. I have no idea. I was like,
How
I
very
need to look
Austin of
this
them.
up.
How
Right.
so unrealistic.
Well, if you live in Austin, you might bike that route, but it'd be more Austinish if they had a unicycle instead of a bicycle. Yeah, that'd be the perfect Austin translation to a book form.
Also, I'm so confused because they're like, oh yeah, riding up La Vaca. And I go, why are you riding up La Vaca from
like,
south of the river towards the
street. What's
Yeah.
going on
What is
here?
happening? I don't know. I was driving when I was listening to it and I was like, I can't look this up right
I
now.
love Sarah thinking about the intricacies and accuracies of like driving in Austin.
I
I'm like, I'm
know.
sorry, one moment.
Well, when it's like
that's the only
my
thing I'll
fourth
take you out.
listen to, like it's like you got to start thinking about
At that
it.
point, you could start scrutinizing.
It's true. It's true. What
I
do you,
know.
did you write the author? Excuse
No,
me.
God, no.
I have
Casey
words
McQuiston,
for you.
that's another person who only publishes fan fiction work. Apparently, Red, White, and Royal Blue was originally a social network fan fiction.
Okay. I love this.
I never thought I would hear anyone utter the words social network fan fiction.
But here we are, and I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Go
Are
ahead.
we talking about the two twins?
I don't know.
Because that's what I would write about.
I've never seen the social
Most
network.
fanfics have twins.
So social, if I'm remembering correctly, Social Network has Army Hammer playing twins, which obviously Army Hammer controversial at this
Right.
point.
And I'll say, fuck that guy.
He's a cannibalist.
But can't forget the fact he's a good-looking person, individual, tall, strong, handsome man. And when there's two of him in the movie, it's nice to look at.
You don't have to
Terrible
argue to me. I've watched our on host club, okay? I know all about the twin factor, please.
I do appreciate, but also like Fred
perfect
and
Eiffel
George also is the twin factor right now.
Yes, yep.
Everybody's about Fred and George.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
they've been about
from-
Fred and George for a while.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like the thing. Self-insert Fred and George or Hermione Fred and George.
Oh, wow. I guess I'm not surprised.
No,
Yeah.
Question for the fanfickers, because I'm just curious. Having partaken in a few fanfics myself, it's mostly like fictional characters. Can you fanfic real people, or is that
yeah,
a
it's
no-no?
called it's called RPF,
Okay.
real person fan fiction.
Okay.
Oh.
There's a very, very large community around the hockey real person fan fiction and also like hockey, like the
hockey,
sport.
hockey.
Oh.
my God, that's amazing.
I thought you
it's
meant like
huge.
Hawk.
No, no,
Like
no.
I thought it was like a nickname or something, and I'm like, is this a show or a movie that I'm not knowing?
I'm sorry, are you a hockey?
I mean, there's also
am.
RPF of like Rooster Teeth employees too.
Oh yeah,
Got you.
Like that's
I've seen some of that in the past.
Got you.
Yeah.
I guess I was curious thinking about like twin factor. I'm like, I guarantee there's been like Cole and Dylan Sprouse stuff. But
yeah.
usually like Sweet Life is like, here's a fanfic of them hanging out on the boat.
There's a lot
It's
of
a very
fics
sweet
Right.
life.
Oh,
that's
no.
like them like, oh, they're actors, but
On
also this
dick.
is them after work and they're taking you out on a date and it's like that kind of stuff. Very
Got you.
fantasy.
Dylan says something saucy, but Cole says, calm down now. And
My God, I could see it. I could see it now.
so I watched a lot of Sweet Life. Go on, please.
They'd be older at the point we're writing the fan fiction.
Right,
of course.
obviously. My goodness. This is post Riverdale. They've seen it all. They've done it all. We're
Oh,
fine.
right. I
Only
keep
one did
forgetting it's-
Riverdale. Right?
It was
It was Dylan,
Dylan?
right?
Mhm.
Right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Cole. Cole does Riverdale. Okay, we have our resident
expert.
young person here.
Thank you. Is that Kat again? Yes, I love you. The she-wolf has spoken once more.
She has.
Thank you.
I feel like at some point we need to get you back on the show, Sarah, to talk about smut and like all of that, because we've been talking. Sarah is one of the people who helped get me into ACOTAR and like convincing me to read those types of books, and cannot put it down. Love that series so much that it makes me want to read more books like it.
Question, what is ACOTAR?
A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Oh, of course. Okay,
Yes.
got you.
It's,
Got you.
It's like a 5-book series.
Well, it's a 5-book series, but also it's like the author has like a lot of very similar works as well.
Yeah, Sarah J Maas.
Sarah J Maas, like she has an entire young adult novel series that's I think like 15 books or something. Like it's huge. And then she has A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then she has Crescent City, which is the most recent series, and they just announced the 3rd book in the series.
coming on like 2024.
January 2024.
I
Yeah.
gotta catch up. Or just listen to some audiobooks.
I
The
know,
audiobooks
yeah.
are really good of those. Like they're except the fact that they change it after the first one. But
So you're telling me, yeah.
also Sarah
Do you
J.
hear sex noises in the audiobook?
Yes. That's what I was
I
going
don't
to say
know if
this.
that makes me want to listen to them more or less.
Sometimes it's great and sometimes it's bad. Because like when I was just listening to Neon Gods, sometimes authors do this thing where they put their books for free on Spotify. So you can go and listen the entire audiobook for free on Spotify. So I listened to all of Neon Gods on Spotify because it was there. And I was like, sure, why not? I don't know what it's a Hades and Persephone's retelling. And they made Hades sound interesting. And the way that man said pussy. It was too much.
With an EH.
It was so bad. And and
I
he
felt
said
my
it
pussy
so
go
much.
inside of me just now.
He said it so much, and I was like, I
Came up
need
with,
you to shut up. I was like,
So, like, was there a pause also, the dramatic effect for like,
Yes.
and the pussy?
well, it was like, he'd be like, he was speaking derogatorily towards her pussy.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so funny because on a few episodes ago, we talked about the term pussy slay, which apparently means like, oh, that's pussy slay. Like
Yeah.
really good.
You're incredible.
Okay, yeah.
But now I'm going to say pussy slay.
Pussy.
Was that Laurel and Blizz?
That
feels like a Laurel Blizz conversation.
I know Blizz is involved for sure. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They are all about it.
Yeah.
All about that pussy slay.
But yeah, no, they absolutely moan. They say things, and it's really interesting. They don't make like additional noises. So like, there's a chapter in the 4th or 5th book in A Court of Thorns and Roses where there is, I kid you not, a chapter long blowjob. And I kid you not, it was 30 minutes of the audiobook. And I was just sitting there doing a puzzle like during the pandemic, being like, is this ever gonna be over?
Do you hear the like
No, you
sloppy-
don't. That's why I was like, you don't have additional noises, but you do have descriptors and
Okay.
like breathy voices.
Gotcha.
So I read a lot of Tolkien. That man can describe a chair for like 15 pages. So I feel like that 30-minute blowjob, I'm okay with that. That's fine.
It's a skill.
Yeah, I have the
You know
time.
exactly what I'm talking about, right?
I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh.
So that's a thing too. I love the ACOTAR series so much that I've been taking my sweet ass time getting through it because I don't want it to be over. So I'm like near the end of book 4.
Book 4 is the worst.
I know. I've always heard book 4 is the worst. I enjoy it. I know book 5, what it deals with, so I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it yet, but I'm so excited to get to it because I've also heard it's the horniest of the 5 books, which
You just don't think it can get hornier. That's the thing. Is like everybody's like, oh, the first book was so good, and they're like, oh my god, the second book, and they're like, oh my god, the third book. And then
second and third have been my favorite so far.
the second is.
I want to talk about this series like the way that people talked about the Star Wars prequels. And be like, oh, it's the horniest of the 3. You're going to love it.
Which is the horniest Star Wars film?
Oh, I almost said third. Lindsay,
It's-
what are you doing? The second one.
The second?
No,
Yeah,
it's.
I think so.
I think it's one of the newer ones where
I'm talking prequels,
Raylo.
but yeah.
Oh,
You
I was
got a
saying
point, you
where
got a point.
Raylo and Kylo Ren can share a mind.
And they Skype sex. They
Yeah.
totally have Skype sex.
There's so much
Horny.
fan fiction of them Skype sexing.
I love it.
I will say they would make a really hot couple.
Yes.
I would watch those two.
I was telling Sarah before this as we were talking about like auditioning for doing audiobooks and like how that would work in smut relations or just talking about sexual content and how when the new Star Wars movies came out, I was a little too aggro on Twitter and I was like, I'm not a fan of Raylo. I'm not liking it. And mostly because of the discussion about like, is this toxic? And like, no shit, it's toxic. But we eat the toxic shit up sometimes because it's fictional.
Friends to enemies is a thing, guys.
Exactly.
Or enemies to lovers. Sorry.
So I think now is the best platform for me to say I rescind my comments about Raylo. I was so wrong.
Thank you.
But so right.
It's been officially stated by Lindsay here on Always Open, an exclusive
That's right.
resyndication.
Listen, Adam Driver, I get it.
I didn't at first, but I do now.
I've warmed up to the idea. And have you seen 65? Maybe that's what sold me on it.
No. What's 65?
No, what's 65? That was my question.
Oh, you're good. So 65 is a new movie that just came out starring Adam Driver.
Oh, 65.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's I love, we're just saying numbers. Like, yeah. 65.
What's 65? Oh, 65.
It's my dad's age. Sorry. It's a movie that came out recently.
Yeah.
And it's Adam Driver and he's part of a space fleet, basically. And he gets sent to what we believe is an alien planet, but turns out it's just Earth 65 million years ago and he's fighting dinosaurs and it's awesome.
That sounds amazing.
It's really cool.
It's like him and like a girl.
Yes, yeah,
Like a young girl.
But yeah.
okay.
So he's like, it's very much like the same dynamic, and what people liked about Last of Us is like, okay, you have this like stronger paternal figure with this girl who's like lost, but she's a little edgy. She's scrappy. She can fight for herself. So if you like watching tropes like that
Love
through the
it.
movie plus dinosaurs and guns, be all
That
about it.
sounds like the perfect movie, to
was
be
pretty cool.
honest. Yeah, I do. I was just in Star Wars land. What's it called?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's
Yeah.
Edge at Disneyland.
I thought you meant mentally. Sorry, I was
in Star Wars land.
I too am still there.
And there is something about the Kylo Ren actor with like the voice and stuff
Yep.
like that, where I just can't help but go, "Hello, Daddy." Like
Yep.
you just cannot avoid it. I'm just like, I get it.
Have
I
you
get the
watched
attraction.
Mandalorian also?
Yes.
Okay. Similarly, this might be
Pedro.
controversial. I'll say it. Pedro Pascal, beautiful human being.
Daddy.
Absolutely daddy, for sure. Somehow even hotter when wearing helmet.
Somehow, I
How
get
do
you.
How do you do that? Same thing with the Kylo Ren. Like Adam Driver, okay. Kylo Ren,
There's
okay.
something about the hearing the voice and not seeing a face. Like, I don't know what it is about. It's like the deep voice where it's like,
The mystique.
mysterious.
Yes, right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's it. Is there a term for that too? I'm pretty sure
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
been the trope for a while.
Do I know what it's called? No.
Sorry. I looked to the librarian.
No, no.
You're correct.
And the expert on books and smut
and
and all
fan
things.
fiction and tropes.
Sarah, I'm horny.
Yeah.
Help.
Yeah.
It's no, dude. Like legitimately, if anybody ever comes with me saying, "Sarah, I need a fan fiction rec," I'm like, "I got you. What do you need?" Like,
Sarah, I'm horny. Help.
like it's
Most of my slacks to her during the day.
my like I have like a small Discord community, and like we have, first of all, we have a book club where we're reading through the LGBTQA alphabet. So that's been really, really fun. Cool. But then also we have an entire channel dedicated to fan fiction. So whenever anybody reads something good, they drop it in there. And it's just like the best resource I've ever made for myself in my entire life.
Wow.
So I just have like all these good recs coming through some of my community members, and I just read them constantly. And then when somebody like Brendan's like, I just need like something that will get me like out of the world real quick. And I was like, do you need a fan fiction rec? And Brendan's like, absolutely, Sarah. What do you got for me? And I was like, what do you need,
pull up your
Brendan?
list.
What do you need?
Right.
Yeah. And so I was like, do you need a cry? A good cry, bad cry?
You really are
gay,
made to be a
straight?
librarian.
Right.
I could just imagining you like in a library somewhere being like, what you need, honey? I got you. And just like sorting through all the different
There's a
books.
basket of candy on her desk.
Yeah.
of course.
It's
Werther's original.
I'm excited to one day do it. I don't know if it's like a today thing, but it's a thing that I've always wanted. And so one day I will. And God, life gets busy. And so do it while you can.
It's practically summer in Texas, and that means I'm spending more and more time outdoors. And it also means I have less and less time to meal prep every week. Luckily, Factor, which happens to be America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you save time, eat well, and tackle everything on your to-do list with their ready-to-eat meals that are delivered straight to your door. I love Factor. They are ready to go. All you have to do is heat it up. They're ready in 2 minutes. You have an entire balanced meal in front of you. They have pancakes. They have different breakfast options. They have lunches, dinners. There's this pork ragu, which is delicious, that I had the other day. Everything has been fantastic and so quick and healthy and saves me so much time. Seriously, so much time. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes. They have options for so many different lifestyles, from keto to calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and protein plus options. And there's always something new to try. Every week, they have over 34 chef-prepared, dietitian-approved options. Plus, they have tons of add-ons, including breakfast items like apple cinnamon pancakes and bacon and cheddar egg bites. Delicious. So head to factormeals.com/open40 and use the code OPEN40 to get 40% off your first box. That's code OPEN40 at factormeals.com/open40 to get 40% off your first box. Enjoy. If you're looking for some new wall art, whether you're moving to a new place or you just want to refresh your current decor, Gallery Panda is definitely the way to go. Gallery Panda offers super high quality acrylic wall art, and their standard 16x24 acrylic print will take any room to the next level. Plus, command strips come with every order for easy, damage-free hanging. In addition to all their artist collections, you could even customize your own print. All you have to do is scroll down to the bottom of their website at gallerypanda.com to upload your own custom design. I got a piece of Gallery Panda print right here. It's beautiful. The quality is amazing. You could also put a light source behind it to make this thing glow, but I chose this one. It's a little astronaut and some flowers. It's gorgeous. I have some other prints at home that I've already hung up. This is going up there with them. Wonderful and great quality. So easy to get and so easy to hang up. So go follow Gallery Panda on Instagram or go to gallerypanda.com to see some amazing art. Use our special promo code ALWAYS30 to get 30% off your order of a large acrylic wall art for the first 50 people to check out. So you got to go fast. Normally, you could only get this good of a deal by finding them at places like New York Comic Con, but thanks to this promo code, you could get a Comic Con level deal online. So head over to gallerypanda.com. Get your Gallery Panda, get it. You could get this one. This one's mine though, so don't take this one. But you get the same one. I think that actually is a perfect segue into one of our questions. So let's kick things off with some user-submitted questions, which, by the way, if you have any questions for us on the show, you could email us at alwaysopen@roosterteeth.com. Anything at all, please send it to us.
Is that supposed to be on the count table?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
I just noticed it. Is that supposed to be
This
that?
is Barbara's show. She calls the shots.
She gets to put things
We're a
where
little
she
more
wants.
laid back.
It's her world. I'm in it.
Yeah. This is my universe. Welcome to my New York loft apartment.
Thank you.
The dream.
Did you pay $500K for this? Wow.
I sure did. New York City.
God damn
We
it.
fly to New York for every single episode. Of
course.
Huge budget. All right. So this question reads, hello, friends. I'm a 26-year-old woman who has been watching the show since my early college days. I'm currently working as a registered nurse and have been for almost 2 years now. I was in school for it for 3 years. I grew up in a Filipino household, which meant a lot of my family have been nurses or in the medical field. As a kid, I knew I always wanted to be in the healthcare field and naturally fell into nursing. My family never forced me or tried to steer me into it, but a lot of other Filipino families do. However, I don't see myself being a nurse for the rest of my life, even in the next decade or so. I love my job. I recently moved to outpatient nursing, and I'm pretty fucking good at it. But I just don't know if this is what I want to do forever. And our generation is experiencing career death now since companies no longer want to give up livable wages, pensions, etc. So we all just want a decent job and to go home and live peacefully. I want to do so much more things that are not nursing. My big dream is to own a bakery or cafe, but I feel like I worked so hard just to become a nurse. I feel like I would throw it all away if I were to leave. My question is, how do you deal with imposter syndrome as a professional? And how does one navigate wanting to leave a job they worked so hard for in something they are more passionate about? Great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. It's people will support you in it too. Like if you're like, I want to keep doing nursing for now. Like I want to keep being a film producer. Like I spent 5 years of a career here at Rooster Teeth. I did 3 years of college and I graduated early, busted my ass to do so.
And what did you study when you were in college?
Film. I have a degree in creative media and film and a minor in business. And so like I worked really hard. I have a fucking $60,000 in debt because of it. Like college and
America.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
and like I've always known I wanted to be a librarian and I'm like, one day I'll do it. But fun fact, you need a master's degree to be a librarian.
Do you really?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, I found that out when I was in middle school from my school librarian because I used to be a library assistant. She told me that. And I go, oh, I don't have the money to go get a master's degree. I could never do that. And so I kind of just always was like, that's not a possibility for me.
Kind of put it to the side.
Yeah. And so then I looked into this, got into this career. I really enjoy it. I'd argue I'm decently good at it. And
Fantastic.
Thank
Don't
you.
downplay it.
I was going to say, yeah, please.
And I really like it. I like this job. I like helping Rooster Teeth produce things. But I do know that like, I look at my parents and I love my dad and I love my mom, but my dad, he has worked at 2 companies his entire life. He had one job straight out of college.
Oh, wow.
And at that job, he got offered a job at his second job. Like basically he was a contract architecture and they were working for the state of Colorado. And the state of Colorado said, hey, we like you so much. Would you come work for us? And he worked that job until he retired last year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I look at that and it terrifies me. Like that, he hated that job. And I saw him kill himself to go to that job to provide for me and my sisters.
Right.
And there's so many times where I was like, if you left that career, if you left that job and went and worked somebody else, you probably would have made better money. And
Or at
things
least
like
have been
that.
happier.
Right.
And been happier. Like there's so many things. And like, it's so interesting. Like, and I'm just like, I don't want that. And I'm so scared of that. And so when like, I don't know, the pandemic was like hard on everybody mentally. And it's like also put into question, will online media companies still exist? Because like, it's hard to validate their existence when we couldn't even be in office together. And we didn't have the resources of these big studios to do so. And so I like really started thinking about it. And then I actually was visiting my sister Susie in Denver on a whim one time. And I was like, oh, we're right next to the Denver library. Can we go see it?
Oh.
And we just walked in and then I was like, oh, I just want to look around, but they're doing construction. And this little librarian walks up and she goes, oh, I can show you around what we do have. And she like gave me this huge tour and like was like, oh, well, this is
Your
historical
fairy
school.
godmother.
Right. I was going to
Literally.
say, you met a mage.
Yeah.
it was like such a prolific moment in my life too. And it was like her being like, oh, well, like you don't have to do it now, but like you should totally do this. Where do you live? And I was like, oh, I live in Texas. I always really want to be a librarian, but I just don't know. And she goes, oh, Texas Women's University has one of the most prestigious librarian degrees. Like you should look into that.
There you go.
And I was like, what the fuck? And then turns out my roommate's mom got a degree at Texas Women's University and worked in the librarian like offices. And I was like, what?
This is the universe calling
things
for
were
you.
just
I know,
like,
yeah.
things were just like
Meant
kind
to
of falling
happen.
together. And there's this little librarian being like, you can do this. And I'm like,
hand, Sarah.
yeah. And so I was like, you know what?
And then your sister goes, what librarian? There was no one here.
Sarah, she's right.
oh yeah. So like I went home and I like did some research and I applied and like I got in. And then I was like, okay, guess I'm doing this. And I've just been doing it on the side. And like I'm only doing like 2 classes a semester. So it will take me like 4 to 5 years to finish. But it's something I have in my back pocket if I like ever like it's just I just
Kind of
wake
like
up
a
one
backup.
day and I'm like, I don't think I want to be a producer anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like
And that happens.
Right.
yeah.
You said
and
you described your passion, and this is something that you've had a passion for since middle school.
Yeah.
What you were saying. So-
clearly I really like books.
Yes.
If that has not yet been established. But yeah, so it's weird and it's difficult and it feels scary and like, but your family, if it's something that you're passionate about and something you care about, your family will support you and like your friends will support you. Like even like Jordan Levin, our CEO, or what is his name? GM. He like knows about it and he even made a joke. He's like, well, don't leave us too soon. Like it, like, and it supported me in it. Like, so people, everybody's a human and they all have the same similar feelings
Yeah.
sometimes. So
And respecting people's goals or people's, passions and stuff like that is
Yeah.
always very important.
and as far as imposter syndrome goes, everybody has it. You just grit and bear it and push through.
Yep.
Literally, if you are
Yeah.
watching the show, I guarantee you all 3 of us that you are looking at right now have major imposter
Right.
syndrome.
We'll let you know when that goes away.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Like I'm a fucking senior manager. Like, and I still have imposter. I'm like,
Nope.
how did I get
Dude, this
Literally
weekend,
every day.
Barbara and I were talking about Ruby. We're like, we've been doing this for 10 years, and like technically we're voice actors, but I'm like, I'm not really. It's like, I
Yeah.
gotta be like, yes,
I'm like,
am.
I was someone's friend who made a show and they said, make some voices into this microphone. And
You
I'm
should be
like,
damn proud of it. Hell yes.
surround yourself with
hard.
people who encourage you because like you may be self-doubting yourself, but those around you see you working hard and see you doing things.
But also, like, talk to yourself the way you would to your closest friends. Like, when I look at my friends and I hear their doubts and I'm like, oh my God, that's insane because I think the world of you and like you do such amazing work and you're so professional and you're so talented at what you do. And I'm like, why don't I talk to myself that way? You know? So like talk to yourself like you would your best friend.
Too real. Also, I clearly cannot speak to the cultural relevancy of your situation, dear watcher. But it's interesting that we find ourselves in this period now because Sarah mentioned the pandemic, which is true. A lot of us had this catharsis where we go, what do I really want to do with my life? What am I really enjoying every day when I wake up and do what I do? And for a lot of people, the answer was no. But we have somehow the flexibility and like I'd argue freedom, but that's a loose term, to explore what you want to and find your passion and drive for it while also being so financially and societally restricted. Like in this time that we are in, everyone is so heavily strapped for cash. It's so difficult to build on your own passion projects. So yeah, it's rough seas out there for sure. But
Super.
I think Sarah and Barbara are right. Like if you find the right support system within yourself and externally, that ship can sail. Maybe not immediately, but it can take off.
Absolutely.
And like something I've been thinking about a lot is like you don't like there's this thing that like you have to have a career, you have to have a career. And there's this girl I watch on TikTok and she like was getting a master's degree in marketing and she worked at a coffee shop and she blew up on TikTok for having this coffee shop. And then she went and got a marketing job. She hated it and she quit it and she went back to being a coffee shop person. She goes, I realized I don't have to fill these standards by other people because this is what brings me joy every day is getting to sit here and meet new people and talk to them and make them coffee. And I just think like I see her and I'm like, yeah, I can be a librarian. Like seeing other people like that, like in like being like, yeah, no, you don't need to fill the society standard.
Yeah, it's funny we bring up TikTok, but I also saw a TikTok recently from this guy who said that he was in this career for I think 10 or 15 years. That was his life. He would think about it all the time. He would go home and work on stuff for this job. He would be constantly brewing on ideas or things he needed to do, even on like the weekends or when he was on vacation. And he didn't really realize how much it was consuming him. And he decided to leave his job and just work as a server at a restaurant. And he's like, I've never been more fulfilled and happy because like I go in, everyone's friendly. I get to meet a lot of new people. I then go home and I don't bring my work home with me. It doesn't consume everything.
You can turn it off.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so it's like, not everyone is, I think, needing a career or like something to dedicate their life to in that way to feel fulfilled. And, I don't think that anybody needs that to be fulfilled. I think you just need to be content with yourself and your life. And I think that's the most important part. And having a work-life balance is important.
Well, also, they mentioned that they want to start baking. I'm
Yeah.
like, if I can step on my baking podium for a minute. Definitely had the similar thoughts where I was like, man, how could I like move to the next phase? Like, I love bringing snacks to the office, but I was like,
We love it too.
Thanks. I will bring more.
It's so good.
Absolutely. I love doing it. And you help me, you save me from myself. So thank
Yeah.
you. Otherwise I will eat all of the dozen myself.
Lindsay, I am happy to help you whenever you need.
Everybody is.
I am up
Thank
for
you.
the challenge.
They sent their best soldiers. Thank you. Good. But I kind of had the same thought, like, how do I sell from home? Now, a lot of different states have different legalities, but they usually allow you to start your bakery from home if you have a permit.
Oh, cool.
Texas is more of a forgiveness situation where like you only run into issues if a client of yours says, I didn't like what you baked or I ended up being sick, et cetera, et cetera. Point being, you can look into what your legalities are depending on where you live. And you can essentially start like a small side business, and it's not as intense as a hustle. You don't have to worry about like dealing with your 9 to 5 and then coming home to a second job. It's like, okay, I have 2 clients this week or 1.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to worry about is a single batch. That's it.
That's a really great idea.
That's still a job.
Yeah. And it's like the way for you to kind of dip your toe and kind of like Sarah's doing with, going back to school for this, where it's like very low pressure. You still have your full-time job that supports you and stuff like that, but you're getting to experience this side of a potential passion project that maybe when you start selling 1-2 clients, maybe it grows, maybe it becomes a thing where it's like, oh, this is actually going to sustain me to get my own location and hire staff and like do this thing where you could grow it very slowly instead of being like, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow and just start this right now. And I'm terrified.
Yes. Yeah. Well, also working from home as opposed to being in a full like kitchen. I don't know, again, watcher, if you've been in a kitchen before with baking experience, but that's totally different as opposed to being at home where you can make mistakes, be messy, misfrizzle it up. It's fine. You're in your own location. It's good. It's a training ground, basically.
I just remembered this, which is wildly like poignant to this. So my best friend, she is a nurse. She actually lived out here. I think a couple of you met her, Kaylee. She's a nurse. She moved back home to Colorado because she has a fiance now, living her best life.
Congrats. Yeah.
But she's always, I don't know, she's a great nurse, but she recently got into baking like those fancy cookies with the fun designs.
Oh, cool.
And she started it just as a hobby. And then she'd bring them into her office. And as she's a nurse, other nurses like, hey, would you bake these for my kid's birthday or for my Super Bowl party? And so she has like exactly what we're describing, and she is a nurse.
The network, yeah.
Yeah, and she's just like making cookies for like parties here and there, and like they're on her Instagram story, and she just enjoys it so much. And she's like, oh, I don't know if I want it to be a real business right now, but like right now while I'm like figuring out my wedding and they're going to Iceland, she's like, this is like a really fun thing to do on the side. And then also it helps you to figure out if you actually do want to be a baker.
Right.
And brushing up on technique too. Can you give me their link too? I watch
She doesn't actually have like, I'll see, but like all of her stuff is just her personal stuff. She doesn't even have like a professional account or anything yet.
Still, I'll check it out. I watch a lot of like cookie decorating videos on YouTube too. So she has any
Satisfying.
montages, please. Yeah, that icing
see.
floods.
Oh my God. Those are so satisfying to watch.
I look at her stuff and I go, who are you? Where's this person? I've known you since 3rd grade. You've never baked before in your entire life.
Where are these skills coming from?
It's like, what the fuck?
I also want to point out an important aspect too of this question where she asks, how does one navigate wanting to leave a job they worked so hard for and something they're more passionate about? There's something that we talk about sometimes called the sunken cost fallacy, where you've spent so much time or money or energy on something that you feel like, oh, if I change careers or if I move or whatever it is, switch paths, I wasted that time. And so I got to stick this out because I've already put so much time and money and effort into it. No. Fuck that shit.
Yep.
Yes, of course, you spent a lot of time developing this career, and I'm sure you spent a lot of money with school and everything you needed to get to that career. But ultimately, nothing is a waste because you learn from it. You had your good experiences in it. You said that you feel like you're really fucking good at your job, and that's fantastic. And I'm sure you've met people through it that are important to you now in your life. And so nothing is a waste, and there's nothing that should stop you from wanting to change paths if you feel like that's going to make you happier.
Yep. And on the converse, I mean, if you're like unhappy, theoretically, you will continue to be unhappy or get worse as time goes on, potentially. So do we want to risk that?
Yeah, like, because then you're 65 and you just retired and you're looking around and you never got to go to your vacations you wanted to do because you didn't have time.
Exactly.
Like, that's not where you want to be.
It also happens in relationships.
I was just going to say that too. Yeah, dating wise. And I've been guilty of that where I'm like, oh man, I'm been here for like 5 months. And like, this really worked out, but this is really bad. And it's like, well, okay, do you want to continue with this maybe working out or just go, it was a good 5 5 months. See you later.
Or even people who've been in really long relationships, like, oh, we've been together for 5 years. And like now if like we break up, I wasted those 5 years.
It's never a waste, because if you were having even a moment in that time, it was worth it.
But also, and you become the person you are, you know, even maybe despite that. But like that was a factor in your life. It was a part of your life. It's a part of who you are. Yes, it probably feels really shitty to be like, I'm not with this person anymore. Someone who I thought I might spend my life with, who now I feel like I've wasted my good years, quote unquote. No such thing, by the way.
Oh, no.
I think it's never too late to change paths to make yourself happy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
no,
do you feel like with
ultimately.
relationships too, is it more of like recentering yourself in the framework of that time period? Because I know it's easy to go like, I was in this relationship, or like we were together. But it's like, you got to think about just yourself for the moment. Nice. Like, yeah, that relationship didn't end up working out, or maybe it was not the most positive time in your life, but that was still you doing that, not we, not us.
Exactly. Great question. Again, like, please follow up with us, writer.
Can I recommend 2 books for you to read?
Please.
One, it's similar, but not quite. There's a book called Cemetery Boys, which is trans representation, but it does tackle the conversation of a Latinx family and the expectations that are forced upon you by being in that family. And then also Kiss Her Once for Me, which is a cute Christmas romance story about a girl who got fired from her dream job and then has to start over again. And like, what does that look like? So I feel like those are 2 books that you might resonate with, both gay. So I hope you don't mind. I don't read a lot of straight media.
Go on, yes. I'd say check out the movie Bridesmaids. It's about a woman who wants to be a baker again after failing for the first time.
It's actually a good call.
It's a great movie, but it's not, I don't think it's going to help you.
It kind of shows, you know, like if you're excited about something, I think like have fun. Have fun in life. It's too short.
Yeah.
Try it.
So
And if you fail, you could always fall back onto nursing.
Yeah,
You know, it's always going to be there.
The world is always going to need nurses. There's no shortage of that. You're fine.
Yeah, it's also like Jenna Ortega. Do you guys ever hear Jenna Ortega talk like in an interview where she said, she goes, "Oh, I'm just going to Netflix. Like my job's not important. My mom's an ER nurse. That's a real job."
There you go.
And I just think about that, and
She's
I like,
not wrong.
I was like, "Yeah, there we go."
Every job is important.
Yes.
Everything makes the world go round. You need entertainment, you need medical,
Yes.
everything.
But it just made me giggle, and it like makes me feel good for the nurses when she said that. 'Cause I bet
Absolutely.
It's true. They
appreciate
don't really
it.
get much interviews or press time. They need
It's
some.
true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for writing in, and thank you for what you do as well. Keep us posted, and good luck. All right, we're going to finish up with one more question. We got some time. It might go a little longer than usual, but
I'm down.
this is one I definitely want to get to with you guys.
I'm glad, because I was like, God, what do I talk about? All right, sick. Good. We're over time.
Absolutely. So this next question, our last question for the episode, reads, "Hi, I'm 23, born male, and always identified as such. Recently, I became really close friends with a coworker that is in the process of transitioning from female to male, and it made me think more about myself and my identity. While always identifying as male, I've been pretty feminine my whole life. I started wondering if maybe I should look into potentially transitioning. The only problem comes from my family. I'm married to a wonderful woman and have a 4-year-old son. My wife doesn't want to label her sexuality, but doesn't know that she's into men and women. Oh, but does know that she's into men and women, excuse me. I'm not sure if she would understand and support me if I told her my feelings. So, do you all have any advice on steps to take to figure this out, or how to bring it up to my wife?"
Whew.
Great
Yes.
question.
Yeah, fantastic question. And thank you for allowing us to speak on it. That's very intimate on many levels. I can only speak from my personal experience on going like, hey, I identify as non-binary. I've felt a lot of these feelings since high school. For me, yeah, there was a little slow introduction to even just the concept of like non-binaryism, because that discourse didn't really start happening until like I mean, I say public discourse. It was happening, but like heavy public discourse was maybe like 5-ish years ago.
I honestly feel like I didn't even know the term non-binary until maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Didn't know non-binary, but I knew there were people on the internet who referred themselves as Z's. Like instead of he or she, they did Z.
I
So
didn't know
like
about
a
that.
ZHE or XHE, and they did that instead of he, she.
Got you. See, I'm early Tumblr generation too, and Sarah's like later Tumblr. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, I missed
Tumblr,
that.
yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Listen,
And fan fiction.
we know.
All the things.
I still, I'm having whiplash from the super Hulakian wars. I gotta get over that 1 second.
God.
But so it was first a discussion on like what is this concept, because it was both of us kind of like understanding what exactly this means, and then my experience in it and saying, hey, here's again the thoughts I've had, how I would like to present myself, what exactly this means for a relationship, and not like, what's the future for us, but like, we love each other. I'm still me, but here's how I would like to present or how I feel I identify. And how are we going to navigate for us? Like, I know this reader said they have a child. So it was like, okay, parenthood, how would you like to navigate that? So it was a little bit of like baby steps for us, mapping out an entire picture of what our future was going to look like. So I think that helped a lot, instead of just going like, okay, rip off the Band-Aid, like here's what's up, like tell everybody we know. It was a slow process for us.
Do you remember, and if you're not comfortable talking about it, totally fine, but do you remember the moment where you were like, I feel this way and I feel like this is how I identify, and I want to bring that up to my partner and like actually tell them or discuss it? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, it was, I can't even like pinpoint a single moment where I was like, I feel like this, because it was a lot of thoughts. And for me,
well,
especially,
you said since high school too, that you've been feeling that way.
Thanks. Yeah. It was also like mixed, because in high school, I definitely dealt with like just like shitty misogynists being like, you don't fit the mold of what femininity should be. So I was fighting against that a lot. But then in retrospect, going like, oh, actually, I didn't, but here's why. Okay, I understand now. So it's kind of that culmination of going, I feel a lot of times, and this is just my experience too, please, it's not everyone who's non-binary, but it's like, there are a lot of situations and dynamics I'm in where I'm not and don't feel like a woman, I guess, or like purely woman. I'm like, sometimes it skews far more masculine, or like I guess like I'm a man, or like for those situations, I was like, I feel like Lindsay is not woman, and that's hard. The best way I could describe it. And
Lindsay
I know that
is Lindsay,
right? Basically, yeah. And I know I'm not the most eloquent speaker too, so I'm not doing it justice.
No,
I can't write you a poem here. Thank you. But yeah, that's the best way to describe it. Is I'm like, I'm me, and I never really liked like, as a woman, you must do these things, or as a man, you must do these things. And that's, discussing the gender spectrum as a whole. But for me specifically, I'm like, I show up as me.
Gender is a social construct, after all.
Well, like identities as well, like, because I don't know if I said this on the podcast, but like I identify as asexual. And that took me so long to settle with. Because like I remember making out with a kid in like high school, and he tried to touch my boob, and I thought it was the funniest shit on the planet.
Did you start laughing?
I did. I absolutely started laughing at this kid because I just couldn't stop. Because I was like, "What are you doing? This makes no sense. Like this is stupid."
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, and like it's one of those things that like now that I'm further in my life, I look back at so many moments and I go, "Oh my God, everything makes so much sense." But like I thought it was broken. Like everything feels wrong because like when you're sitting here facing an identity, like I know. Asexuality is different than gender identity, but like to a lot of people are like, you don't like sex, what do you mean? Like that's like you're supposed to, like you're supposed to enjoy those activities, you're supposed to have a sex drive, you're supposed to have X, Y, and Z, and when you just don't and everybody else around you does, you just feel wrong. And so it's like, but there is a certain comfort of like calling your best friend and being like, I think I might be ace, and then them being like, that's okay. But if you're not, that's also okay. Well, and you can be whatever you need to be.
Society, for better or worse, is heavy on marketing sex too. And like there's so much saturation, like just like libido is everywhere, regardless of what we're trying to market to. So I understand where it's like, I get that aspect of like, I feel like I'm not normal or I'm doing something wrong here.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
Well, that's why I was like, I feel like that must be something similar too with being non-binary or like feeling gender dysphoria, is like you're sitting here like and everybody else is telling you you're supposed to be a certain way and it just doesn't feel right. And like I'll be honest, there was truly a somewhat of a freedom for me to like have that conversation like a year after I started like truly thinking into it, and them just being like, it's okay if you're not, like even like you're sitting here being like, I'm questioning it, but like I don't know where I'm at, like do I need to start transitioning? You don't have to decide today. You don't have to decide tomorrow.
You could also change your mind as many times as you need to whatever you feel fits you. And who you are.
But it's like nice to have those kind of like, it's nice to know that about yourself and accept it about yourself. Because like being able to be like, oh, I'm ace. And then like things start making sense and you feel like you have a community within that. And it's just very powerful.
Well, you talked also just to bring back that point home about just like questioning entirely. Like, I do think there is a stigma of like, I now identify as this, or I believe I identify as this. And from inside and outside the community going, no, you don't. Or like, you're not sure, you're not entirely positive. Or again, like it's imposter syndrome, but labeled onto this, I guess. It's like, you're either not one of us, or even internally be like, oh, I'm not, I'm a liar. And I felt that way for a long time too. Like I clearly am not part of this community, but that's not necessarily true. And even if you do get to the point where like, hey, I don't identify this way, I thought I did, I'm totally wrong. I think there should be grace and acceptance and going, yeah, okay, that's A-okay. That's fine. That is you exploring yourself.
Self-discovery.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on this point too, where this individual asks about talking to their wife because they are thinking about the idea of transitioning to female when they've been traditionally male their entire life. And I do imagine that could be a scary process when, you know, you've married someone and, you know, you are their husband, and that's kind of like the societal thing that's happening. And then having that discussion of like, I'm having these thoughts and these feelings and I feel like I might identify this way. How does that change our relationship, or does that make you still want to be with me? But I think, Lindsay, you mentioned earlier on, like, I'm still me. And is like, that to me is the most important part of a relationship, is the person. Deep down, you know, regardless of how they identify, you are with that person. And so I think, you know, I obviously can't tell you how to approach that situation, not having experienced that myself. But I do think having a conversation as early as you can with your wife to say, like, I'm having these feelings, I'm having these thoughts, you know, I want to be open and honest with you and have your support as I go through these feelings, changes, whatever it may be. And hopefully you're in a healthy enough relationship where they could listen and understand and be there for you and accept you for whoever you decide to be.
Yeah. I mean, y'all work with me, so you're not with me at home. But I mean, the biggest changes that I can think of is like, I feel comfortable like presenting more masculine and maybe dressing more androgynously. But I mean, by all means, like, what else has changed about myself? It's like, I'm still here making jokes on the podcast.
Nothing changed, like literally. So I actually had I had this idea also. No, this question also really sparked something in my mind because one of my really, really good best friends identifies as trans. And he came out to me in junior year of high school. And I think the way he did it was so clever, and it really helped me understand, which is we always were really big book friends. Like, we both read fan fiction. We used to always send each other fan fictions and talk about it and all that. And he goes, hey, I have this book I would like you to read. And it was called Beautiful Music for Ugly Children. And it was the story of a young trans male discovering they're trans and figuring out how to communicate that with those around them. And so they had me read this book, and I go, okay. And then they're like, so what did you think? And so like, it was like it informed me and educated me in such a way that like, I didn't have to like come into this with so many questions. And also like, I've known this individual since third grade as well. And so like, when they're like, I'm trans, I was like, no shit. So like that also,
thanks for the book.
Sometimes that happens where you're like, it's like when they first came out to me as a lesbian and then they came out to me as trans, it was like things that like fit who they were. It just made more sense to who they are. And like to this day, like when sometimes I hear their dead name, I'm like, oh, who the fuck is that? And it gives me the heebie-jeebies more than it gives them the heebie-jeebies. So like there are people in your life who want to like, who see it even before maybe you're willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know if that's something like anybody else might experience, and it might be a scary thing, but starting with a piece of media is a really good.
For me, it was really fun. Just like knowing some of my friends growing up, they joked that I was like the son my father never had. And I was like, hey, about that.
Well, I got news for you.
Listen.
I think it was an earlier episode of Always Open that Blizz had a great point about this of course, gender being a spectrum. We talk about that a lot, but how a lot of people possess both masculinity and femininity. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to label yourself as one or the other, or even non-binary. You could label yourself whatever you're comfortable with and however you're identifying in that moment, even on a day-to-day basis, on an hourly basis. And so, you know, this question mentions that he's been feeling feminine his whole life and that maybe I should transition. It's like, you could if that's the way you want to go, but there's also nothing saying you have to. If you feel like you're feminine and masculine or even more feminine, it's a spectrum and you don't have to label yourself. Labels typically are, you know, if people want to label themselves, that's one thing, but sometimes it's done for the sake of other people, so they could identify you. Yeah. But there's nothing saying you have to do anything.
Yeah, we have several cis men in our life who dress femininely. I've had discussions with Cameron about like skirt shopping. I'm like, yeah, dude, let's go.
Yeah. I don't know how open Cameron is about it, but like he, they is their preferred pronouns. And like you talk to him about it and you're like, oh, okay. But he's just very low key about it and doesn't mention it.
Yeah.
I have a number of men that I follow on Instagram too, and they just like model their dresses for the day. And I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Yes, flaunt it. Get it.
There's nothing better than a man in a crop top either.
God, why did that go away from the 80s?
Bring back crop tops.
I'm with you. Yeah. Kyle, race it up. Let's go. I'm cool with that.
Yes, it's just, and also like the men in skirts. Like, God, I don't know why that's so attractive.
Yeah,
I agree.
Did you aesthetically?
Just curious too. Did you have moments of also like for me it was dressing up or trying on different clothes where you did feel a little bit more self-expression, but younger? Stuff that was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. In retrospect, is like I used to borrow a lot of my dad's clothes and I'd walk around the neighborhood and see who would notice that I was Lindsay. And so I'd have neighbors be like, who's that new dude? I'm like, that's Red.
And would it make you feel good?
Yeah, because I'm like, I could pass. And I was like, oh, I could be someone else. I'd like make up dumbass names. I'm like, I'm Chris. It's like, or whatever.
Like all the names in the world and you go with
damn
Chris.
it. I'm very, very original and unique, you know?
Oh my gosh.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I don't have any of those moments. It was just more like looking back about the asexuality. Because like I feel relatively secure in my gender. Like occasionally I'm like, fucking boobs suck. Like, but I feel like that might be more of just a big boob problem.
I don't know if it's non-binary mentality, but I wish I could take mine off and then
it's like there's
whatever.
outfits where they'd be great, and there's other outfits where you're like, did you make my body shape the wrong shape?
Why are you here?
Yeah. I think that's a normal feeling for sure.
I feel like it is too, but like that is like the closest I get sometimes where I was like, fucking go away. You're so in my way.
I think for me, I've always felt very feminine. I've always really enjoyed being feminine and being a woman and stuff like that. And the only thing I could point to is I was definitely a tomboy growing up. Like I liked playing sports. I liked dressing in very baggy clothes. I didn't really like being very girly, but I got more comfortable with it as I got older. And now I feel very secure in my gender and my sexuality and everything like that, that I feel like could wear whatever, but I still know who I am deep down. So it kind of doesn't really factor into that as much, but I know like clothes and attire is a huge factor for a lot of people and how they identify and feel comfortable.
Right. Well, it's self-expression. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. It's just funny that it happened after me coming out as non-binary. But I know traveling with you, Barbara, I've worn pink a handful of times, and you're always like, "You look really good in pink." And I was like, "It's just not my style. Like, it's not my thing."
You look good in everything, though.
Thank you, appreciate it. I've also never worn more pink than after coming out as non-binary. I'm like, let's go, all the pink, all of it. So I don't know how that works, but you know,
it's more like you're more secure in what you are, so you're okay in dabbling when what you aren't.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like I've noticed that ever since you've come out, and it's really, really cool to see.
Thanks. I skew black and pink. So together I'm a K-pop band.
But there you go.
Thanks.
I also going to say one thing, which is another TikTok reference, but it made me, again, I thought of this when I read this question, which is I watched a TikTok literally yesterday, and it was this person going, I was really scared about coming out to my wife as trans. And then they told me that it's the best thing ever because the thing they hated the most about me was the fact that I was a man.
Oh my God. Incredible. You're like, yeah, maybe that'll be the case.
And it was just, it made me giggle. And I was
also,
like,
you could share clothes.
You could share clothes.
There we go.
That'd be cool.
There's like, I don't know. It's just that TikTok always made me giggle. So,
yeah,
I love that.
So also, relatable.
I borrow Michael's clothes sometimes too. So very, very relatable. Yep.
It's good for the environment.
Exactly. There we go. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for writing in. This was a beautiful question, and we wish you the best of luck with this journey and, you know, self-discovery and everything like that. And we hope that you get nothing but love and support with whatever you choose to do. Or if you change your mind later down the road, of course. But good luck. We love you. And anybody else who wants to write into the show, we would love to have your question. You could send that to alwaysopen@roosterteeth.com. Lindsay, Sarah, thank you for being here today.
Of course.
Thanks for having me.
A wonderful time. Where could people find you online?
I am on Twitter, Instagram, and Zanga at I am Lindsay Jones. That's I am Lindsay Jones. I think I'm on Tumblr as just Lindsay Jones, but you can find me in Sarah's fanfics there. Sarah,
Of course.
take it away.
I am on anywhere you can find me as Sarah K.A. Weems. So easy peasy.
Weems. Awesome.
Weems.
Well, thank you guys so much, very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for watching another episode of Always Open. We'd love to have you here. Make sure you're subscribed to the All Good No Worries YouTube channel if you're not already for more episodes of Always Open every single Tuesday. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that episode of Always Open. If you liked it, share it with a friend and make sure you're subscribed to the All Good No Worries YouTube channel where you could see this show every Tuesday, as well as tons of other shows like Cozy Couch, a very cozy, cute, nostalgic gameplay show with our friends BK and Kai. We love you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.